Hello, welcome to Leaf 4. We're painting this loose oak leaf with watercolour pencils. No drawing again, just a very slight line sketch to follow. It's simple, we're going to use earthy colours and full of character. But I need your eyes on this one. Does it work or is it a mess? I'm using some Caran watercolour pencils, absolutely amazing. And before you say it, no, they're not missing. They are the colours that I have picked. Let me show you for our next little project. Here is a little picture for you, just to give you an idea of what I am loosely following. Come and join me. So all I'm doing here is just starting off with a vein, a line. This is just going to represent the centre of the leaf. And if you are new to watercolour pencils, this is really easy. You can do this, honestly. There's not really any more drawing than this, because the whole point of this series is to create loose leaves without heavy drawing or just very light sketches. And this is all we're going to do in terms of drawing. I'm 100% sure you can do that. It's just so that you can follow, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. All we're going to do is just start shading ever so slightly along that line, and then I'll show you exactly how it forms together, how the oak leaf forms together. I am very loosely following the drawing, the picture. I just got that from Pexels, and anyone can get pictures from Pexels. I'm not very good with realism. I have said that before. I just want to be able to use these watercolour pencils because I'm obsessed with them. And if you are new to watercolour pencils or watercolours, these are the perfect place to start if you are pondering or thinking about using watercolour pencils. All I've literally done is exactly the same thing, followed each line, just shaded in around where I've drawn that line. I've just done a little circle there just so that I know where I'm going to end, and then I'm going to work my way around doing exactly the same thing. So I'm shading along the line. I'm using one colour just to keep it as simple, just as much for myself as for you as well, and I'm just following that line as a guideline. I'm holding the pencil not too close to the tip of the pencil. I'm holding it sort of halfway up. I'm not pressing down very hard at all. I'm colouring very lightly to start off with because we're going to build up the layers. If you are new here and you've missed the previous ones, leaves 1, 2 and 3, I will of course leave everything in the description box for you, and then you can catch up on those if you would like. I'm going to pick my second colour now. After my little mistake on leaf 2, the ash leaves, I didn't have the colours in the order that I wanted to. This time I've learnt from my mistake. I have sort of got them in the order that I want, but I do find it easier to have the colours out of the tin, just so that I know what colours I am using. So if you've got a selection of colours, I've got 40 Caran watercolour pencils, Swiss colour watercolour pencils. Absolutely amazing, absolutely brilliant. I just love them. But you can use any watercolours, any watercolour pencils. If you've got different brands, that's absolutely fine. I've picked a slightly darker, sort of a dark grey, this colour, just to go to the centre of the veins and start marking out a bit more of the veins where we've already drawn them out. But I haven't followed exactly where I've drawn them out. This is what I end up doing. I end up doing a very light drawing and then I do something completely different. And I know you shouldn't really do that. So I do hope I haven't confused you. But all I've literally done is just gone over the drawing where I feel like the veins would be better suited. And I'm going to colour them in anyway. So I use the term loosely, like I said again, it's just a guideline. The picture is just a guideline, just to get a rough idea of the shape, the overall oak leaf. And in case we haven't met, I'm Shanaz and this is Bloom Art by SW. If you have been here before, welcome back and thank you so much for your support, and thank you everyone for being here. What I absolutely love about watercolour pencils is you don't have to be super neat. In fact, you can be as messy as you want to be, because we're going to activate the watercolour pencils with water a bit later on. It doesn't matter too much. I'm just using this colour now. It looks like a gold brown sort of colour. I'm not quite sure, but you don't have the names on the colour. You do have a little paintbrush on these pencils so that you do know that they are watercolour pencils. You can activate them with water. I must have used this a few times because you do have to sharpen your pencils, your watercolour pencils. It is best to keep them nice and sharp. The colours just seem to flow better when they are nice and sharp compared to when they are blunt. And what we're doing with this is we're starting to build up not only the layers, but a bit more of the shape of the oak leaf as well. Let me bring that picture back up. So as I'm shading in, I'm outlining the shape of the leaf as well. Can you see the curves? The curves in the leaf. I'm trying to match the curves in my picture. I know I've gone a bit wonky. I can see that. It's not a problem. Enjoy the process. This is what I like about watercolours, watercolour pencils in general, and just painting. It's your vision of how you see something. It's your interpretation of how you see it. You don't have to be perfect. Also, I've drawn my leaf at a tiny angle, whereas the leaf in the picture is not at an angle. It's just straight down, whereas mine is slightly at an angle as well. I don't know why I've done it like that. It's just how I've done it. But you feel free to draw colour in how you feel is comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong. Like I say, it does not have to be perfect. It's just about figuring out how to create loose leaves without having to do the big major drawing or sketching. Not a lot of people like sketching and drawing, and they just want to paint or colour in straight away. And that's what I'm trying to achieve in this little series. If you do absolutely hate drawing and sketching completely, then I do have an Etsy shop which has got some leaves pre-drawn for you if that is something you want to have a look at and possibly purchase. I will leave that in the description box as well. They're not a lot of money, they're just outlines. I'm not going to charge loads for them. But have a look at those, see if that is something that will help you, and then you can just use your watercolour pencils just to colour in and activate them. The other thing I do need to tell you is that I am using 100% cotton paper, the same as you would with watercolours. Because we're going to be using water, you need a decent quality paper that can handle the water. So keep that in mind if you are going to be using watercolour pencils. So do you have watercolour pencils, and do you use them very often? Because I've seen in comments, not necessarily mine, other people's comments, where people have said they didn't realise that the pencils they have could be activated by water and just didn't realise that they had them. Or maybe you have tried them and you're just not a big fan of them at all. I'd be interested to know. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on watercolour pencils. So I'm just colouring in a bit more, trying to make it a bit more browner. I cut out a tiny bit there only because my hand was in the way, but I was doing the same thing, adding the brown in areas where I feel the brown needed to be added on, just to give it a bit more pigment in those areas. Because what I've noticed with watercolour, when you have multiple layers on an area and then you add the water, the colours just look so much more vibrant compared to when you use one colour. I'll probably do something like that in another tutorial another time so you can see what I mean. This is the exciting bit. This is the bit I absolutely love. I just love adding on the water. I just think it's brilliant. So I'm using a smallish brush, not too big, because you don't want too much water on the brush. That's why I used a cloth just before I put the water down onto the paper. So just to explain a little bit, when you use watercolour pencils, you're actually working with a coloured pencil that has water soluble pigment inside the pencil, inside the wood, which is the pencil. This means the colour can dissolve and spread when the water hits the pigment. That's what you'll see in here. The water is activating the pigment that is already dry on the paper, and then it's making it move about in your picture. I hope that makes sense. So when we first drew with the pencils, the watercolour pencils, they look and feel just like normal, regular coloured pencils. And the pigment basically sits on top of the paper in the dry and textured layer. We can shade and blend and layer just like normal pencils, like we've just done. So now, when you dip your brush in the water, gently go over the coloured area, something magical happens. The binder that basically holds the pigment together dissolves on your paper, and that allows the colour particles to spread out and blend really smoothly, just like watercolour paints. So the water activates the pigment, turning it from a dry, grainy texture into a soft paint-like wash. The pigment in the pencil is the same pigment as in your tubes or your pans, but the way it's bound together in the pencil is different, and that's what changes how it behaves. Oh, I feel like a science/art teacher there. I hope that's making sense. If that is something you would like me to go into a bit more, I will happily do that, because I am just fascinated by these watercolour pencils. I absolutely love them. I am being really careful as well, because I don't want to lose the areas where there's highlights. There's natural highlights in the leaf, and I want to make sure I keep those. And what we're going to do is, once we've done the water on this side as well and activated the pigment on this side of the leaf as well, we're going to leave it all to dry and then just come back and do a second layer and some small details. On the previous week, the other leaf, the red leaf, I got annoyed and I went slightly out of the leaf. So I felt I had to do or paint or draw a little bit of a background. So on this oak leaf, I am going to paint a little bit of a background as well. So stick around just to see how that turns out, because that's where I need your help. I need your opinion to see if it works, or have I actually ruined this little leaf? Because I think I've actually ruined it. And this page is A4 size, and I've split it into 6 sections. And because I've put a background on this one, you'll see it later, I feel like I have ruined it, and it's a bit of a shame. It doesn't fit in with the 3 pictures that I've done already, with the 3 leaves that I've done already. So let's just get this finished off. As you can see, where I've gone slightly darker and added on a few extra layers around the edges, when I've added the water, it's activated the pigment there, and it's slightly darker around the edges, which is perfect, which is what I wanted. If you remember earlier as well, we added on that light yellow in places, and that's now coming through, but it's actually blended with the other earthy colours so that the yellow is not actually too bright. So I have let it dry now, and I'm back to do the second layer. I've gone with a dark grey to start off with, and I'm just going to shade in areas where I feel we can pop a bit more texture on, a bit more shadows, a few more sort of areas where we can colour in. I'm going in with that yellow just to keep that yellow bit as highlighted as possible. You might also be thinking, why am I putting the yellow on the top of a darker colour? It seems odd. Everything we've learnt about watercolour pencils and watercolour always start with a light area first. But I think it is different with watercolour pencils. You'll see it again when I add the second bit of the water. It just makes it a bit more vibrant. With watercolours, you can't do that. You can't put lighter colours on top of a darker colour. But with watercolour pencils, it almost carries on blending when I add the water to it. Look here, I'm adding, it's sort of, so the point of this pencil it has come away when I sharpened it, you know, when you get that a little bit comes off. So I'm I'm just making sure it stays on. But anyway, I've put that yellow on top of the brown, and I'll show you what happens to it when I add water to it in a second. By the way, I've got 2 more boxes left. If you've got an idea of what leaf I could have a go at creating for you, let me know in the comments, because I'm a bit stuck on what to do on the last one as well. So feel free to drop something in the comments and let me know what you might be interested in. Oh dear, brown has come away. I'm going to pop it into a little pot. I'm not going to get rid of it, and I'll decide what to do with that. So this hasn't happened in the other 3 leaves. This is the first time where I'm discovering some of the points of the pencils have started to break ever so slightly. I'm not sure if that's my fault, you know, for sharpening them a bit too much. I'm not entirely sure. It's still okay. We're still going to get a lot of use out of them, a lot of wear out of them, and we'll just see how that goes. I'm defining the shape of the leaf a bit more and a bit more of the veins, and it automatically has started to look a tiny bit 3D-ish, especially with the vein, and especially the way I've coloured in the leaf there. So hopefully yours is looking good. And you can also tag me on Bloom Art by SW, at Bloom Art by SW on TikTok and Instagram. So I'm going in with my paintbrush again with some water. Have a cloth or tissue to hand, because you don't want it too wet. You just want it damp enough to release or activate that pigment there. The more you use watercolour pencils, the more you'll get a feel of how much water you need and how much you don't need. I quite like this bit, so I've kept that as highlighted as much as possible, and I'm not going to go over that with water. I think I'll ruin it if I go over that with water. You don't have to go over every single area where you've got watercolour pencils down. You can just be selective about what areas you add on the water. When you add on the water, we now know that's going to make that bit darker. So any dark areas, great. Any areas you want to blend, great, add the water. Any areas you want to keep highlighted, perhaps don't add the water. Okay, so like leaf 3, the red leaf, I added on some blue, and I thought that looked really, really nice. So I'm going in with some blue pencil crayon, watercolour pencil, see how that's going to look. This is really therapeutic as well. I find colouring in like this really relaxing, really calming, so definitely try it. As you can see, I have sped this bit up. I've kept the majority in real time, so you can see exactly what I'm doing and how long it actually takes to colour in. It is quite a lengthy process, but I've enjoyed it. It's quite therapeutic, and you don't have to finish it off all in one go. But I just wanted to show you and ask you, what is your honest opinion on this? You can be as bluntly honest as you can be. Does it work with the background, or have I ruined it? I feel like I should have just stopped with one layer of a background and perhaps not put water down on the whole area of the background. But let me know in the comments what you actually think. I think from here I started to ruin it a bit, and it is a bit of a shame, and it doesn't fit in with the other pictures on the page. It's kind of gone a bit funny. I'm just going to show you a very quick technique which I showed you using leaf 2, and we're just going to add some details by wetting your brush as normal. Again, not too wet, just a bit damp, and then just wipe the point of the brush like this and just gather some pigment into the brush. And I think it makes the areas look quite dark and stand out a bit more and defined a bit more. So you can use your watercolour pencils this way as well. I do feel like I'm actually trying to salvage and save this painting, but it is too late. I do genuinely think I have ruined it, and it's okay to critique your own work. The actual process, I really enjoyed it. I really feel like I've really learned a lot more about watercolour pencils, and hopefully I've explained a bit more to you as well. And in the next one, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to paint or create in the next one, but I'll definitely be using all of these techniques. Drop me a like, drop me a comment, and if you do wish to subscribe, by all means do so. You'll get a little notification to let you know when I've got the next one up, hopefully next Friday. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye. YouTube recommends you watch this video, so why not take a look?